Well, hello again. You are watching another episode of the Scooting Scholar Report. I am your humble host, Richard Lawrence. Well, it's been about 48 hours since Donald Trump and the merry men and women gathered together in Simi Valley, just up the freeway from here at the Ronald Reagan Library, for the second GOP debate. And the clear winner in my mind, as well as in the mind of many other pundits, was former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina. Fiorina showed herself to be very articulate, very decisive, very competent. Now, she was dead wrong on, especially when it comes to her performance as the former head of Hewlett-Packard, but she showed herself to be a very viable candidate, at least on the Republican side, for president. Now, I don't know what you thought about that CNN debate format. I thought it was very hokey, to say the least. I guess they were trying to create a reality show of some sort. I guess they wanted conflict. I don't think it worked very well. But in spite of all that, there was one person who didn't get to participate in all of the fray. And that was none other than former Texas Governor Rick Perry. That's right, the other day, just days before the debate, Perry announced that he was suspending his campaign. Now, I always crack up a little bit when I hear candidates saying they are suspending their campaign. It's as if, what, are they going to hit a pause button and then at some future date hit play again? No, it really just means the campaign is dead. But I do realize that it's really more semantics than anything else. It really has more to do with laws that say that if you keep your campaign going, you can continue to receive contributions. And from what I've read, Rick Perry's campaign was in quite a bit of financial trouble, and therefore they need all the help they can get. And so, here's to you, Rick Perry for President 2016. May your campaign forever rest in peace. We hardly knew you. Now, for a couple of follow-ups. The first follow-up has to do with Kim Davis. You remember Kim Davis, the Rowan County clerk who refused to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples and then found herself in jail because she failed to follow a judge's order. Well, Kim Davis emerged from jail and this past Monday returned to work. And guess what? Marriage licenses are still being issued by her office. I guess she doesn't want to go back to jail. Which tells me this whole mess could have been avoided in the first place. What bothers me, though, about all of this is that Kim Davis, and I think I said this last week, is that she and her supporters have used the shroud of religious liberty to hide behind. And it really is a shame. Because essentially what's going on, at least in my mind, is that there's just a general distaste for same-sex marriage. And one thing I didn't say last week is that I don't have a problem with them having this belief that same-sex marriage is wrong. She can have that belief. The only problem, to me, is that, or the only issue I have with Kim Davis, is that she continued in her job. And while she's entitled to her opinion, she does not have a right to exercise that against others as an elected official. Again, the noble thing for her would have been to resign. Which really, I think, by using this, the cover of religious liberty, all she's doing is putting in jeopardy those who may really need to exercise their religious liberty in the future. So, thanks a lot, Kim Davis. Here's to you. Now, the other story that I wanted to follow up with is the James Blake versus NYPD. You remember that one as well. James Blake, the former tennis star who was minding his own business, waiting to go to the US Open when he was taken down by a New York City police officer in a violent way, I would say. Well, apparently, well, no, I shouldn't say apparently. After we had recorded last week's episode, the New York City Police Department did issue footage or released footage of the incident, and it really wasn't pretty. You can clearly see that Blake, that the officer never identified himself to Blake, and I find it absolutely crazy. I don't care how you spin it. If a cop doesn't ID first, and how would Blake have known? I mean, this could have turned out so much worse if Blake had decided to fight back. And you know what? He would have probably ended up on the wrong side of that officer's bullet. And the officer would have said he was justified because he would have said that he felt his life was in danger, or that he thought Blake might be reaching for his weapon and therefore had to use deadly force. Fortunately, none of that happened. And while I'm glad that Blake has decided not to play up the race card too much, as far as I'm concerned, I do believe race does play a part in all of this. Now, I'm not saying it's racism. I'm just saying race plays a part in all of this. Remember, our perceptions, all of us have different perceptions of things based on our background and what we've been exposed to. In this case, we have a police officer who comes in with a certain kind of a mindset when it relates to black suspects. And I don't care if you are black or fair-skinned or biracial. As far as this officer is concerned, in my mind at least, and maybe that's my perception as well, but as far as this officer is concerned, black equals potentially dangerous. Black equals aggressive. Black equals handle with care. And so the officer approached him in that manner. Now, I'll be honest with you. It's bad enough when police officers approach with guns drawn, even if you are not a violent suspect. But in this case, to handle it the way he did, seems like he went even ratcheted up the situation even further. And like I said, it's a good thing that Blake didn't fight back. What I find so ironic about all of this is that Blake, it wasn't really Blake in this case, but the suspect that he was looking for was a white-collar criminal, not someone who was, say, suspected of armed robbery, for instance. But you know what is the craziest thing of all of this? It's bad enough that Blake had been taken down, but then we come to find out that the person that they were looking for, the person they said looked like James Blake, also wasn't guilty. And so as far as I'm concerned, you have a double epic fail by the New York City Police Department. Whew, boy, after all of that, I'm all messed up, basically, right? I need a drink. No, I don't really need a drink, but I do need to scoot. And so I would love to continue this conversation. You can remember there's thescootingscholar.net. I'm also at facebook.com/thescootingscholar, and also on Twitter at rjlawrencejr. I also want to say thank you so much for all of the love and supportive messages that I've received. Let's keep this show growing. Tell your friends. Anyway, like I said, I need to scoot. And so I thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to doing this again and seeing all of you next week. Cheers.